So this is where probabilities can fool you, because people are trying to back test an event that's never happened before in human history other than 1929 tariffs. And even that analogy doesn't hold, because we're the largest debtor nation. 29, we were the largest creditor nation.
Good morning, everyone. Guess who I'm sitting with right here? Bob Kudla from Trade Genius. Absolutely stunning event. I've learned so much by being here live. You know, we talk every month anyway, but he invited me to the live training. Again, the amount of information that's being given in person and the ideas of where the future is moving, that's what we talk about every single month, is where we think the future might spin, looking around the corner just a sliver. Now, you were talking about liquidity yesterday and the possibilities of us being sort of at a market top, and all dependent on the geopolitics around, from the Indian war to the trade tariffs. And every time that Trump says something, the market jumps. You know, before he was crushing the market by making it purposefully go down, and now suddenly every rosy, word from his mouth is driving markets up. So it's all he said, she said, and plus the geopolitics driving everything. So if we could dive into that, that'd be great for the morning. And by the way, hey, we got the same colors on. We didn't plan this. No. We're not twins.
And here's another funny thing too, Dave, is that, and I get this a lot, especially when I do live training for people I've never met before, because people say on camera I look short. I'm actually 6'2", and Dave's actually 6'4". So if we look short on camera, we're really tall guys. It's pretty funny when people meet us; they're kind of taken aback. But yeah, you're right. So first of all, let me tell you what we're doing here today is that I do this about 3 times a year. I offer live training in a different part of the country, and for people that are customers and some people that haven't joined the service but want to kind of kick the tires but learn how to trade. And so, one thing I was talking to Dave about is that I also have done this online for people. And so if there's an interest there, just kind of ping Dave in the comments, and if enough people want to do it, it's paid training, but it's at a discount to the live training, because it's obviously online and it's just a one session thing. But you'll walk away with actually tools and tips, and also access to our indicators for a year. So it's definitely worth it, Dave. So I would encourage people to check it out. People that have done it with us in the past really like it. So now, back to the show. We're at a point now where we had, and an interesting thing is that a lot of analogs or analogies to past events are being popped up. Is this 1929? Is it 1973? Is it 2020 to 2022? And the analog that I've been following is is what happened in 1999 to 2002. And what happened there was obviously Y2K, Internet 1.0, everything was rocking, Brave New World, dogs and cats living together, the Jetsons, the whole 9 yards. Y2K came about, and a lot of front running was occurring in the sales of computer equipment and software, and it fell off a cliff, and tech rolled over. And before it rolled over, though, it made an all-time high, and then it made a new high 3 months later, and then it fell for the next 18 months into 2002. And so you have a situation here where we just made an all-time high in January. Then you had the Trump bump, the Trump scare, the Trump resurgence. But at some point, cash flows matter. And even though if the tariffs are going to be negotiated, it's still going to be higher costs in the system, because he wants to get $600 billion to $1 trillion out of the foreign trade transactions. The other thing he's doing is trying to take $600 billion to $1 trillion of costs out of the federal government. And those are two sources of market liquidity. And I totally agree with what he's doing, by the way, but it doesn't mean this is painless. And the market is priced for perfection, and most of the gains in the market are in tech. So we now just ran up this. We're talking over the weekend here. On Friday, we started getting a little bit of things getting a little bit jiggy now, and we're making a lower high. And if it fails here, then there's a good chance that we'll make a lower low. and we'll start oscillating. And eventually what we're going to have happen to us is that we'll see this market downtrend over the next 18 months down 30 to 40%. So it's not going to go in a straight line, and it's going to fool a lot of people because, I'm on X looking at everybody throwing every different chart pattern out there saying if this happens or that happens, we have all-time highs, the market's going to go up forever. Well, we've never had a situation like this before. So this is where probabilities can fool you because people are trying to back test an event that's never happened before in human history other than 1929 tariffs. And even that analogy doesn't hold because we're the largest debtor nation. 29, we were the largest creditor nation. So there's a lot of things really in motion here, and we think we have a pretty good handle on it. Knowing the macro and trading, what's in front of you are two different things. So, we watch the market daily and weekly, Dave. So that's kind of where we are. So the next earnings report's coming out. I expect to see market softness, maybe a bump in the summer, and then in the fall we'll scale down again, and we'll just keep riding that way until we get probably almost to the midterm elections.
And that congruence, that's one thing I learned yesterday, was the congruence on the standard deviations on top of other signals that are coming in. It's the same thing with what we're seeing with the entire market pattern. It's not just on the charts themselves. If you're looking for validation on 4 different levels of things that were happening that look like it's going to be a good trade or not to take it, rollover. But when we look at the world's events happening right now, every single thing that's spoken, so the minute that Trump says, hey, we signed another trade deal, whoosh, the market's going to go back up again. Now, speaking of all those charts you're talking about with a huge amount of people with charts, I've been following some people on Twitter also, X, that are showing all the M2 global liquidity coming in through, say, the end of June and July, but then from there, they're unsure if it's going to decrease or not, but there's a few, steps up there where it's not going to be a vertical. It will be pulling back as it makes its way up there. So again, it's hard to know exactly what the way our world is going to unfold, but being here and listening to Phil and Bob also talking about it, but then showing the reality of it is very different than what you might see on the news feeds or somebody's Twitter feed. But the way that it was dissected and shown, that looking at all these past cycles, the channel's all about cycles. Looking at the cycles is the most important thing. History repeats, it rhymes, it doesn't exactly repeat, but looks like we're in another, circle of spin here that's right back to sort of the same inflection point. And that's what I keep getting over and over again. We're at a huge inflection point.
How do you feed your families when the shelves are empty, the stores are shut, and there's no food available? What is the fastest, easiest, and most productive foods to grow? What is the quickest way to get somebody who has no skills at all up and running and producing very quickly? If you understand that we're at a point in history where it is no longer optional to be growing your own food. If you're really freaked out and concerned because you've never grown food before and you don't have any skills, you don't know how to do that, but you know how important it is, then I want to let you know, however you stumbled here, you're in the right place. My name is Marjorie Wildcraft. I'm the founder of the Grow Network, and I have been the female leader in the survival and preparedness space for the last 20 years.
How to grow lots of food, even if you have no experience, are older and out of shape. This is for people who want the fastest and easiest ways to produce healthy and delicious meat, eggs, and vegetables. Because you know that growing your own food is like printing your own money. During this webinar, you will get status of global food shortages, how long the crisis will last, how much space you need to grow food, easiest, highest calorie foods you can produce, a complete plan for producing all the food you need, how to get started today, regardless of season. Marjorie will show you the fastest, easiest, and simplest ways to produce calories and nutrition, especially in a crisis and/or grid-down situation. The assumption is that you have no experience and you need to start producing food immediately. The most popular part of the webinar is the Q&A session at the end. So please come prepared with your questions.
Don't forget to sign up for our show notes. With Civilization Cycle podcast, you can learn what to expect as society resets. Agriculture, economy, tech, and history all have mappable cycles, and these cycles affect every aspect of our lives. We can navigate the chaos and thrive together with up-to-date news and information. Also, if you like the content we have here on Civilization Cycle, Think about fueling the discussions and the show by buying us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Civilization Cycle. And thank you for all the support.
That's a great point. And remember, China's the source of the biggest liquidity boom right now. Their economy is actually going into a currency collapse. So China's damned if they do, damned if they don't. So if they try to protect their currency, they put their trading at risk. If they try to keep devaluing, they're going to have a currency collapse. And Trump's given them basically a Faustian choice. Either you open up your economy, which means you blow up the Communist Party, or you play hardball with the United States and lose the market. So that liquidity is going to get blown up. And just for people to know that the stock markets operate off of liquidity. Liquidity is really if you look at the M2, which is the money supply in the United States, we've been contracting. The rest of the world has been lifting up they can't keep doing that because the cost of commodities will get too high for them. And then Bitcoin likes global liquidity, and that's why it's been pumping so hard. But everybody's saying now Bitcoin to the moon. And look, we love Bitcoin, and we think at the end of the day, Bitcoin's going to be the big winner. But, Bitcoin's also subject to massive reversals in price. Well, last time when Bitcoin hit 65,000, people were saying 65,000 to the $1 million. It's going to be the diamond eyes and diamond hands, and Dave knows all that. And then we went down under $20,000. And so these things can happen again. Remember, there's a lot of new people owning Bitcoin right now. A lot of ETFs own Bitcoin. You get a scare in there, people will bail, and you'll be back down to the core people again. So, the hands have weakened a little bit, and a lot of old money, including my partner, actually sold half of his stash when it hit 108,000 earlier this year. A lot of old holders are now liquidating positions, and those are the people that waited 10, 12, 15 years to get these kind of returns. So all I'm saying there is that it can keep going up, but it's not like, just like 2000, it's not a brave new world. So, with that, Dave, what I would tell people is that, you need to watch, if you're going to watch anything, you watch a moving average called the 9 EMA, and you look at it on the weekly, and if it breaks that, we're going to go down again. Right now, we're coming up on the 100-day moving average that usually caps these bear market rallies. And even though they're saying we're in a new bull market, don't believe that garbage. It has to break over to a 100-day moving average and continue higher for us to be in a new bull market. I just don't see the catalyst. So that's kind of where we are. If you want to trade with us, just go to tradelikeagenius.com or go to
tradewith2030.com.
Yeah, so either way, and make sure you tell him you heard it from, if you come to my site by accident, not through his portal. Remember, he has the better deal than I do because I give him a discount for you listening to the show. But if you come to my site, make sure you tell him that you heard it from DAP 2030, and so we can give you the proper discounts and the proper credit to Dave for allowing me to communicate with you guys. But volatility means opportunity, and so and Dave's sitting here with 40 other traders. They will tell you to a T that they're doing really well, and we do things very, very mathematical. And so there's no gurus here. It's all math, and people make money. At the end of the day, it's a business. Also, you care about, and we can help you get there. So, Dave, thanks for having me.
And one last point, not a diamond hand, but a fruit tree spray arm with the thing on the bark, because we got splitting bark on our trees, and I can't get that off, or it sticks. So word to self, wear long sleeves if you're going to do any bark spraying and application in your fields. The number one thing also is the mitigation of risk. Like, I don't know how many times that yesterday it was about limit your time, limit your risk, and that's what it's all about. You can go in wild style and go gambling, throwing the dice on the table, but that's not what it's about. It's about limiting that risk. And then yesterday when we were having dinner, I heard no less than 4 people talking about, is this really Trump here to oversee the bankruptcy proceedings of the United States? And, all these types of discussions as to really, like, how is the market moving, where it's moving. And I don't know if you had any opinion about that, but it seems like if you're going to liquidate a company, you're going to trim the edges of fat off that aren't needed, and then when it reconsolidates, you're going to have something in the center that's the core to consolidate and then start, growing from that. And that seemed to be a lot of people's thoughts too. Is like, where do we sit right now with Trump in this restructuring of America, the way we do business outside of America, the way we do it inside, how we're not going to be taxed, and there was a whole gamut of different things, but it rolled right back into where's the market going to move? Because this is an entirely different animal. The biggest opportunity in human history and the most market moves will be made in these next couple of years as, statements are made through the administration. And I didn't know, that's my last question for you, because we're getting ready to bang on here at 9 a.m. So can you finish me with that thought, please?
Yeah, well, you can't, reserve currency can't go bankrupt. So, but you can restructure, and I think that's what I just promoted Dave to president. Congratulations.
Yeah, vote for me.
So with Trump, he's basically trying to bring the federal government back down to as close to original intent that he can possibly politically do, push everything to the states and let the states deal with their own bankruptcy issues. But and the same with the trading partners. I think at the end of the day, I don't think any one sector is going to be able to have less than 30 to 50% of the production of that sector is going to be within the United States. There's one other thing, too, that I don't know if we talked about it before, but, Trump has the ability and the authority to reprice gold in Fort Knox to the level that it's currently trading. And right now that would give him about a $600 to $800 billion good guy on the Treasury's books. And make no mistakes, I know a lot of people say there's no gold there. There's gold there. And people talk about, well, if it's pledged to some other country, well, try to come and get it. Right? So it's sitting there behind 3 battalions of M1, A1, A2 tanks. That gold's ours. And so the gold that other countries hold is actually held in New York at the Fed. We get some wild conspiracies out there. We'll remonetize that. And every time gold goes up, Trump's going to be able to continue to do that. So for every $3,000 to $4,000 rise in gold, that's $1 trillion he can add to the Treasury. So I wouldn't be surprised at some point that they're going to let gold rip and use that to put on the treasuries and just pay down the debt. Remember, if gold just goes up another $2,000 an ounce, they could just buy back everything that China owns in treasuries without blinking. So you don't have to worry about China selling all their treasuries. Japan already said they would not. Okay, and they're the largest holders of treasuries outside the country. So there's a lot of things he's doing that's good, but there will be short-term pain. We just haven't felt it yet. He's trying to manage it, but we will get a sell-off. But at the end of the day, employment's going to go up, cost of living is going to go up a little bit, but wages are going to go up too. So it's just really a restructuring versus anything else. So with that, Dave, you guys have a great rest of your weekend.
Yeah, thanks for joining that. I'll leave the links below. And I got my private jet parked on the runway waiting to pick up my gold. Bob, when are they going to deliver it? And anyway, until next time, thanks for joining. Try to implement some of these ideas into your life and see how you feel that the markets are going to move, and then chase down what the predictions for Bob were. And you'll find there's a high correlation of the way he said it's going to move into the way it really moves compared to all the other scatter and chatter that's around out there. So anyway, bye for now.
Thank you.